Hi, everyone. I'm Penny White. I am the CEO and president of Lancaster Resources. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to have recently listed on the CSE. We just listed 2 weeks ago. We are doing something a little bit different, and we're a little bit of a different company for the mining industry. The first thing is we're climate forward first. Although we're a mining company, our goal is to create and produce climate positive lithium. The other thing that's unique about us is we are a woman-led organization. Not unique for all of the companies attending today, but in the mining industry, it's somewhat unique. So woman-founded, woman-owned, women control the board of directors, and I'm the CEO and president. So proud of that. What's exciting about climate positive lithium is we intend to take more carbon out of the environment than we release into it when we get into production. And you may be wondering how we do that. Our plan is to use direct lithium extraction and to use solar power to power our facility. So direct lithium extraction is a new technology that is just coming into pilot demonstrations, about to go commercial in South America and in Clayton Valley. The pilot plant for Pure Energy is about to launch anytime. It's a $100 million pilot plant. We're expecting to see results from that, being the lithium industry. Hopefully within the next 6 months. Lilac Solutions already achieved a major milestone in April when in Argentina they demonstrated their pilot production facility at the Cachi plant. So what this means for lithium production internationally is because most of the lithium in the world exists in lithium brine, which is essentially salty water, which can be at surface or below surface, the way it's been produced to date has been ineffective and very bad for the environment. Essentially, it's been put into ponds and evaporated, so the carbon footprint is tremendously high. It also causes a lot of damage to the neighboring communities when water is extracted because it lowers the water wells in the community and basically depletes the water levels throughout the region. And that's especially damaging in arid climates, which is where you find brine deposits with lithium. So what's exciting about the new technologies that are coming on board, which is essentially like a lithium ion technology, is you can move the lithium from the brine aquifer below the surface through a hole, pump it up to the surface, where you'll have a technology facility which will allow the lithium to be pumped through these ions, which will extract the lithium out of the water, and then the water is immediately pumped back into the aquifer. So there's almost no impact to the environment, which is quite phenomenal. The reason this technology hasn't been used previously is because it simply hadn't made it to the demonstration stages that it's at now. So I think we're going to see some big changes in the way that lithium is produced, because it makes a lot of sense to use a low environmental impact when the whole reason we need lithium is to power electrification and decarbonization to fight climate change. Some of you may know about the Inflation Reduction Act in the US, which mandates that US car companies must get 40% of the batteries key minerals and elements from the US by 2024, which seems almost impossible. That moves to 70% in 2027. So there is definitely motivation by the US car companies to get locally sourced lithium in the United States. It can also come from Canada because of the treaties that we have, or the treaty that Canada has with the US. But if we want to go to the next slide, I guess I'm in control of that. Here we go. I'll talk about why Lancaster Resources is planning on taking advantage of these various developments in technology and in sort of the environment in the United States as a result of the Inflation Reduction Act. So what we have here is a picture of our property in the red. That's about 20 square kilometers. And when you usually see mining companies showing you properties, there's a lot of other claims around. This is basically a new area, New Mexico. We wonder if it might be the new frontier. The way that we found this property was through a very successful geologist named Rodney Blakestead, who has 10 successful commercial grade discoveries in his career, including the largest producing gold mine in Alaska. So it's called Fort Knox, and it's at 10 million ounces. He took his 35 years of experience in the gold business, or not in the gold exploration, and he turned to lithium about 5 years ago. And what he did was he examined the NIR data, which was available for free, that the U.S. government had published regarding the lithium values all across the United States. He was very interested in New Mexico, being located in Arizona. He thought that there was this was another place where you could make big discoveries where nobody really had explored for lithium. And he looked at 29,000 samples, and our property actually has the second highest lithium samples in New Mexico out of that NIR data. So the values are quite high. I think they range between 60 and 148 parts per million, which is what you'll see in some commercial grade deposits such as Clayton Valley, such as Albemarle's Silver Peak mine. How are we doing for time? Okay. Basically, he said that this geology, this is what you're seeing here is the bottom part of a closed basin, is pretty much identical to what you'd see at Clayton Valley. So now I'm going to go to the next slide. So on the left here, you have Clayton Valley, kind of a rough picture of the geology. On the right, you have Alkali Flat. That's our lithium project, which is located in New Mexico. Rodney told me that he superimposed a picture of Clayton Valley over top of our Alkali Flat, and he said they're almost identical in geology, except there was one difference, and that was the Alkali Flat is 10 times bigger. Clayton Valley has been in operation for lithium since the 60s. Albemarle purchased it for the Silver Peak mine for $6 billion about 8 years ago. So that kind of gives you an indication of the potential value here. We're currently in exploration on the Alkali Flat property. We have results coming out from our sampling probably in the next few weeks, as we've disclosed in our 43-101. We also have results from some other surveys we've done, and we hope to announce drilling targets in the next month or two. We're pretty excited about what the future holds, and looking forward to demonstrating to everybody that we can have solar power to demonstrate our project, to support our project, and we can use DLE to power the extraction facility. Thank you very much.
What I'm about to tell you today, a lot of you will think it's unbelievable. So you can check out afterwards and find out because the story is so good. A brief history on myself. My previous company, we managed to take a company from a $4 million market cap and sold it for equivalent of $1 billion. We're very lucky. We got an interesting situation here, the same management group. We call ourselves First Tellurium because we're the only junior company, probably any company is out there looking for tellurium. It's a critical metal. It's very important in solar panels in the United States. Their biggest company, First Solar, uses cadmium tellurium. They've said, their CEO said a year ago that they're going to need more tellurium for themselves that's been produced in the world, which makes it good. But for our benefit is that if tellurium went to zero, which is not going to happen, but if it did go to zero, it would have very little effect on us, because in actual fact, we're a high-grade precious metals company. We've got a phenomenal property here in British Columbia. High-grade gold, high-grade silver, and as most green companies look for, they're always hoping to get copper porphyry. And we confirmed we have our own copper porphyry last October. So if you can imagine being blessed with these many minerals. And what we got a picture up here because it links here to Kelowna. There's a new patent done about a year and a half ago by the University of British Columbia Okanagan campus on a new lithium tellurium battery, which is far superior to a lithium ion battery for 5 basic reasons. Number 1, much more powerful, 4 to 10 times more powerful. Number 2, easier to charge. Number 3, lasts twice as long. Number 4, size-wise. Okay, you can look at the typical lithium-ion battery for a vehicle. Okay, so now you look at a lithium tellurium battery, which again has all these advantages, and you're talking thumb and forefinger. So you can all imagine what that would do for automobiles. And I say the patent went in by UBC Okanagan about 18 months ago. And the fifth and final advantage is that it's a solid-state battery, which means it cannot catch fire. Lithium batteries can and do catch fire. So if you can imagine that the only difference between lithium tellurium and lithium ion was it didn't catch fire, I think insurance companies and automobile companies would have a lot of interest in it. And as a matter of fact, New York City said it put an ordinance in the middle of March because a lithium-ion delivery driver, his bicycle exploded and caused a 5-alarm fire, which is known to happen. So that's one of the big advantages that we have. The person you see in the picture with me, for those that love fishing, that's Don Fresh. He's got his own sports fishing show on Czech TV, but he's the CEO of a company based in Trail, BC called Phoenix Advanced Material. They do ultra-high purity manufacturing, 7N technology, which is 99.99999% purity for minerals. So he's on my advisory board, as are 4 gentlemen that used to be involved with First Solar. So I'm not an engineer, I'm not a geologist, I'm just a businessman, so I like to surround myself with very bright people. Now, I might be a C+ student, so why would I want to surround myself with C+ people when I got the brightest guys in the world dealing with me? And I am the largest shareholder. I don't sell any shares. As a matter of fact, my broker just phoned me. I picked up another 50,000 shares over the last couple of days. I'm sitting on the bid. So my personal opinion, this is not the corporate opinion. My personal opinion, we will get bought out. The question is, I don't know who's going to buy us out. Is it going to be someone that needs tellurium for the solar panels? Is it going to be someone that needs tellurium for these new lithium tellurium batteries? Or is it going to be a copper company that needs it? Because if we prove out this copper porphyry, copper is still the most important mineral in the green industry. So it's best to have multiple potential suitors. You know, if you're selling your house, you'd rather have 5 or 6 people wanting to buy it rather than one. So that's how we do it. And the best time to sell someone is when you don't have to. My last deals I mentioned we sold, the negotiations took all of 10 minutes. It was down at the Masters Golf Tournament in 2008. The people who bought us out needed my property. Good time for me and the shareholders to sell. So that's what we do. And being here with the First Nations, I say that I think we were the leader for junior companies when it comes to promoting the First Nations. We were one of the original 4 or 5 companies that took an ad out in the Western edition of the Globe and Mail about 5 years ago, urging the province of British Columbia to enact the UNDRIP, which is the United Nations Declarations of Rights of Indigenous People. At that point, they hadn't decided. Thankfully, they have. And one other thing, for those that have their iPhones or whatever, I never do this, but I thought I would do it today. If you want to Google, put Apple, like the Apple company, /Salmon Gold, okay? Because we're involved with that. We own 49% of a First Nations mining company. We're involved with placer miners in Canada. Started off in Yukon. We now have the rights to the rest of Canada. And when they get their gold, we sell it at a premium to 2 corporations in the United States. And that premium is then put back into restoring the rivers or streams or whatever, reintroducing salmon and other fish, and no one's allowed to mine it again. That's why it's called Salmon Gold. And the 2 U.S. corporations that buy it at a premium are Tiffany & Company and Apple. So I suggest you don't have to believe anything I say. Google it yourself. Apple/Salmon Gold, and you'll see a picture of our First Nations partner in the middle of the Yukon River overlooking the river and the Apple brochure. So I don't know how much time I got left. Oh, usually I talk so much. My mother says I was vaccinated with a gramophone needle, so if I can actually get in 5 minutes, it's unbelievable. Anyway, so there's no one else in the world doing what we're doing, and we have two of the best properties in the world when it comes to tellurium. So our board of directors, they've been with me for a long time, and they sort of allow me to do what we do, and knowing no one's getting into trouble. But you know, our commitment to the First Nations and to green mining, people can get on stage and say everything they want, but I say, look, we don't only talk the talk, but we walk the walk. So I'm at the booth in the corner there, but if you have any questions afterwards, I'm pleased to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here today. Here we go. Enertopia. So our banner out front, the top part is our new project in Tonopah, Nevada. And what I'll do is I'll catch up to that in a second, but first we'll go through recent milestones and next steps, And I know you've been hearing presentations all day, so I'll keep it short for you. Last May, we sold our lithium claystone deposit in Clayton Valley to Century Lithium for $6 million in cash and shares. We used that to pick up this project, West Tonopah, drilled it the first phase last year in June, made the lithium claystone discovery, and then in the next step, last fall, we filed 4 non-provisional clean energy patents, and that's what this is here. I'll go into that in a minute just as well. And then in January, we came back onto the CSE, which we're happy to do so. They've always been a great supporter to small and micro caps here in Canada. So we're very happy to be back listed on the CSE. Next steps, we'll be commissioning a 43-101 resource report on our West Tonopah project. And actually, I can tell you now, because the news will go out tomorrow morning, we've engaged Apex Geoscience out of Edmonton, Alberta, to do our 43-101 report. And we expect that report will come out sometime after Labor Day this year. And then we're working on 4 patents. The one you see here is for the solar booster. So this is a solar PV panel. We've put a water jacket on the back. We've done a lot of third-party research that solar PV panels, obviously in the sun all day, get impacted by the solar energy heat during the day. And even, not even so much even the front panel everybody knows gets hot, but even the back of the panel, we had temperatures that were over 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So it really degrades the panels over every year over the expected life of 20 plus years. So what we can do is we can take groundwater, cool down the panel, and we can actually use that heated water for other applications, potentially in mining and or an agricultural business. And at nighttime, depending on the location, the climate location we're at, you can cool down the panel at nighttime to make rain as the dew condensates on the panel. So those are some of the patents we're working on right now. We hope to hear more by the end of the year from the United States Patent Office. So that's the Coles Notes version of what we've done basically over the last 4 years, but it really moved to the forefront over the past year. And that's where we're at now. And other opportunities, clean energy, and on the lithium side, because the amount of opportunities and money on the lithium side, I've never seen anything like it in the 30 years I've been in the mineral resource sector. So it really is good to see, and it's a wealth creation opportunity. And I have to give a shout out to Elon Musk. And Cybertruck in September, he'll be coming out with a full story on that. So thank you very much, and thank you for taking your time and effort today to be here with the CSE spearheading the way. Oh, we got another slide. Go back to slide 2 real quick. This is all going to be handed out. So we've got Benchmark. They're the leader in analysis, I believe, in the lithium industry. So get on their site. They have free information that you can get on a weekly basis. Canaccord Genuity has a great job on EV market and lithium miners. Carbon credits for what's going on in the credit industry for carbon, whether you're buying or selling. KPMG, I know MNP is going to be mad at me now, but they have a good website, and MNP actually, I just learned today, has some good work. And RowMotion is another company that offers what's going on in the lithium market and rare earth markets as well. And then the final slide will be how you can get a hold of us. See our website, enertopia.com, our share structure. And that's it. I'm here in Kelowna, so anytime anybody wants to chat, more than happy to have a coffee and discuss. Thank you for your time.
My name is Mark Branson, and I'm here to talk today about First Phosphate. And I guess the first thing that we probably need to delve into is why is a fertilizer company here at a social impact investment seminar. And a lot of people don't understand or know that the LFP battery space, which is a lithium iron phosphate battery, is a huge portion of the battery space. In fact, right now, I believe it's a $10 billion market space on its way to $50 billion in the next 15 years. First Phosphate is the only public company built and designed to supply that market. It's kind of a rare thing when you get involved in the company, when you really are the only one, you really are the first, and really proud to say that we've been spearheading this and pushing this forward. I want to kind of get into the team that I work with. I'm so lucky and so blessed. I am a director, lowly director, and I wish the CEO or a president could be here because they're just amazing. And what they've been able to execute on in the last 18 months is just spectacular. You know, we went from conception to now having a mineral resource of 50 million tons, grading at 5%. This is really important because it's a rare asset, really rare asset, and two, it just proves how fast we can execute and what we can do. Touching back a little bit too, as well as we're focusing on the social aspects, our partners are really important to us, really important to us. So you just can't build a company like this without having great partners. You know what, the Port of Saguenay, which is obviously the local government, they've allowed us to build out a pilot plant, they've given us land, and so that partnership with the government is key. Our local First Nations, they've been amazing and supportive. Prayon, I want to touch on Prayon a little bit because that's an important partnership for us. It's one of the largest producers of fertilizer and potash, and more importantly, PPA. Unfortunately, in 5 minutes, I'm probably not going to get into exactly what PPA is, but that's all. Reach out to me after, and I'll do my best to explain it. So, in a short period of time, great team, great partners. Really lucky to be here to talk to you about it. So I did touch on it being rare, and I want to just kind of go to like how rare it is. So only 1% of the phosphate in the world is our type of deposit. And then further to that, you know, as you kind of bounce around the map and you see the rest is only in Quebec, right? So when you look at North America and when everybody's saying, you know, 95% of the batteries and the materials have to come back to North America, if we're going to control the ESG component of it, we need it here, right? Because you just can't control it, that supply chain, if it's in China or most other countries that aren't quite as advanced as we are in this process. You need the deposit to start here. Like, it just has to be there. So it's a unique kind of deposit, it's a unique location, and it's a unique opportunity. I want to touch base a little bit on kind of the whole sphere of it and what it looks like. And again, coming back to ESG and how it plays a role. You know what, it starts with a deposit, and it starts with a clean deposit, meaning that the rock doesn't have a lot of deleterious materials, like it doesn't have uranium and some of the things that you have to strip out. So it starts with a good deposit, and then you have to move into the production, right? And everybody's talked about the production. So we're lucky in Quebec that we actually have low-cost energy, and it's clean energy, and we have good partners. So then you have to go through the process of actually producing the material to a level in an ESG standard. For example, you know what, starting discussions about using electronic trucks and pushing the boundaries of the process. So we've embedded that from day one all the way through the channel. And so the first thing that we have right now is the open pit operation, and the upstream stuff we're covered quite well, and we're pushing our way towards a feasibility study. And now the next section is where the partners really come in. This, you really need the partners, and you need good partners to do this. To produce the battery-grade material, or phosphate process to a battery-grade material, you need the technology, and you need partners that can really advance it and push it forward. And we have that partner in Prayon, and we have their technology, and we're working towards doing that. The next kind of step is producing the CAM material, and we've invested in some companies out of England that are on the forefront of doing that, and we're pushing that along. And we're starting to have the discussions as well with some end user suppliers. So it's kind of important, and it's, again, I gotta state how impressive it is that we went from like off the board all the way through in this in about 18 months. I wanted to bring this slide up and talk about this one just really briefly, because everybody keeps talking about how you're going to produce, there's a little bit of an arbitrage that goes on right now, right? Because 95% of the batteries are made in places that don't have as high a standard as we have today. Although we want to achieve higher standards, and it's our goal to keep pushing to the forefront, right now, we're way ahead of the game. And if you look at this slide even just kind of basically, and you look at the thermal process that happens in Asia, where most of this rock is processed into the CAM material, it's not, we couldn't do it here. Even if we wanted to, it's so damaging for the environment. Even our very basic standards wouldn't allow it. So as we can kind of push forward and get into the new processes that actually are high tech and actually allow us to compete through innovation without that without the environmental arbitrage. The last thing I just kind of want to touch back on is, what are the reasons to invest in a company like this, right? One is obviously electrification is not going anywhere, and everybody's talked about it on numerous occasions today. We need these minerals, and we need companies that have the ability to mine it in a sustainable way. It starts with clean assets, it starts with management and governance to push it in the right direction, and we need to continue to invest in ourselves and our infrastructure to make this happen. If we just keep outsourcing it, we're not going to get the desired outcomes. Just flat out, we're not going to. So again, I want to thank everybody for their time. Look forward to chatting with you while we have a drink. Hopefully everybody can get up there. And again, thank you everybody, and I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Anna, and thanks to the CSE for the opportunity to tell you about what we're up to at 3RC. So the 3R in 3R circuits stands for resource recovery and remediation, and the circuits refers to hydrometallurgical circuits rather than electrical circuits. We're in the process of rebranding. I know it's not a great name. So 3R Circuits is a biotechnology company, and our mission is to reduce the environmental impact of strategic metal recovery. And we're focused in particular, and for obvious reasons, on reducing carbon footprint associated with metal recovery. We're a biotechnology company, and so we are working on incorporating aspects of biochemistry and microbiology into hydrometallurgical circuits. Okay, and so we're mostly interested in nickel at the moment, and we're interested in nickel for a number of reasons. One is obvious, that nickel is an important component of electric vehicle batteries. And because it's an important component of electrical vehicle batteries, the demand for nickel is increasing rapidly. And so there are a lot of numbers out there that project demand supply over the next few years, and this is one that I've pulled from Vale's website. And so Vale is projecting a nearly 600,000 ton per year demand deficit by 2030. Okay, and so that's equivalent to roughly 20 world-class mineral deposits. So there's a projected enormous supply deficit for nickel over the next 7 years, and that will likely continue into the future. So the other reason that we're very interested in nickel is that most of the world's remaining nickel resources are hosted by something called laterite deposits. So roughly 73% of the remaining nickel and associated cobalt is hosted in laterite resources. And so laterite resources are challenging because they're low grade, and the nickel and cobalt in laterite resources is tied up with iron. And so that presents a tremendous challenge in terms of trying to recover the nickel and cobalt from those very iron-rich ores. And so the conventional processes that are employed for the extraction and recovery of nickel and cobalt from laterite resources are very energy intensive, and they're very environmentally challenging. So I've listed a table here of is there a laser pointer on this? Yeah. Basically some specs from the two most widely used extraction technologies for nickel and cobalt from laterite deposits. the pyromet approach, which has been used for a number of decades, and the high-pressure acid leaching approach, which is coming online increasingly. We initiated this work in order to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions associated with nickel and cobalt extraction from laterites. And so here's the associated numbers associated with our process here. And so we've effectively reduced the greenhouse gas emissions by roughly a factor of 2 to 3 relative to these sort of benchmark processes. One of the things that we were surprised about, though, is that we contracted an engineering firm to evaluate our likely OPEX and CAPEX requirements. And in addition to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, we're actually coming in with a relatively low CAPEX compared to these conventional technologies. And that's important because many of the nickel and cobalt laterite resources that exist are too small to justify the large CAPEX associated with these conventional processes. And so we're hoping that through our approach that we'll be able to unlock some of those new laterite resources that are currently intractable. And so I think I'm well under time here, but I've got a slide here that summarizes our current team. So we've put together a number of directors and officers with diverse backgrounds. We're really excited to have John Davies leading our commercialization. He's got a lot of expertise and experience in translating university research into profitable companies. And we've been recruiting an advisory board that we're also very excited about, including Darcy Clifford, who's got 30 years experience in the nickel and cobalt markets working for Vale, as well as Ed Aslin, who is, who's also a professor at UBC and recently spun out a company called Jetty Resources from UBC, which is focused on improving copper extraction from difficult ores. So I'll maybe leave it at that and take questions afterwards, and we can move on to the next speaker.